of my favorite decks, and this is the second deck I ever got, the Aleister Crowley Thoth. This is copyright 1986 by A.G. Mueller, and it's the larger set, so you get the box. It's really plain, and then you get the booklet, which is over 40 pages, and it gets into Tarot of the Kabbalah. It's sort of a condensed version of an Aleister Crowley text. And so people know the name Aleister Crowley, you know, sort of the occultist who was English, and he, I think he did a lot for the tarot world. To be honest, I think he was a bit of a kook. He was sort of a sham, a fraud, and I don't think he was, you know, some demonic incarnation or anything like that. He just, I think, my own opinion is, I think it was more about just making a name for himself and not really doing anything. One of the things he wanted to try to do was like distill religion into one true religion, by combining elements of, you know, Egyptian mythology, Judaism, Christianity, stuff like that. So a lot of these, the decks sort of reflect that, and reflect his own writings and his own things. And so under the direction of him, you know, Pamela Coleman Smith, the Toth deck, you know, we get some really interesting stuff. So this is probably one of my favorite decks. I don't like to use it because I think it is it's a different deck to approach. It's sort of hard. It's sort of like a very interesting deck for me, a personal deck that I don't like to pull out much. It is probably a deck that I think every tarot creator strives to do, to have that much impact on the tarot world, and to change things, and to, you know, make a name for themselves. I mean, this and the Rider-Waite are the two biggest modern decks, you know, created. Some people are scared of this deck. Some people think it's evil. There's something wrong with it. The deck does have sort of a vibe to it that's it's hard to explain. But I thought we'd look at the cards, and I'll talk a little bit about some of them, and some of the interesting things about the deck. So the first thing is, the back is not reversible. We have this sort of, I think it's a Rosicrucian cross, and it's got all these symbols here. The cardstock on this one is nice and thick and heavy, and I love the size of this deck. It's a huge deck. It's the biggest, the widest deck I own, and I love it for that. So the first card is the Fool. And the Fool, notice we have the typical of these cards. The major arcana have symbols here. We have elemental symbol, and then we have the Hebrew symbol, and it says in the background trumps, and then whatever the trump is, and then a number at the top. And this border goes along with all of them. Numbers here. Sometimes there is no number if it's you know, one of the like a queen or a princess. So if we look here, there's a ton of symbolism in this deck, and I can't even begin to talk about all of it. But we have a tiger biting the Fool. We have a bag full of elemental symbols, symbols of planets. A dove. We have a caduceus. We have an alligator here. We have there's just a lot going on. The colors also are, I think, really important. This guy reminds me of some sort of Viking guy with the horns. It's just a kind of an odd card, but it's the first card, the 0 card. The deck comes with 3 cards that are the Magician and the 2 Magnus cards. One thing, if you notice at the bottom of them, these are a little different in each one. So we have symbols over here that are different, but then we have the symbol of, I believe it's Mercury, here, but it's switched over here. And they're all card 1. I guess you could leave all 3 in the deck. Each one is sort of different. So this one, it sort of looks, we have tools of the trade around here, we have like a baboon, we have these swirls. This one is the one that is probably the most popular, these dynamic, very lines popping out with tools of the trade, baboon there, and that flying headdress thing that was on the other one. This one we have the baboon in the background, Catechus, tools of the trade, and these sort of stars here. So they're similar, the colors are very similar, except maybe this one is more golden, but you get 3 of them. There's a lot of geometry in the cards, I think. The way lines line up, the colors and the shapes and the gradients and all. This one's the priestess. We have a camel, we have jewels, grapes, flowers, this beautiful net with arrows in it. Very dynamic card. The Empress. We have the swan, the moon. It's very feminine, very subtle card. The Emperor. Sort of a fiery orange card. I love the colors used. We have the Lamb of God here. We have some goats in the background. Phoenix, bird on the shield. He's holding this, symbolizes the world. The Empress also has that in her head. The Hierophant, these masks are like Greek masks, like they would use for plays. And the colors are completely different. We have sort of this triqueta there. We have an Egyptian goddess. He's putting out 2 fingers instead of 1. Elephant, sort of a bull. And this is a very Minoan face with the white, with the smile that sort of the lovers. Here we have black child, white child, black king, white queen. So with a balance there. 2 females up there. Sort of a Cupid figure. And there's this unknown figure here, sort of blessing them, holding his hands over them. Eagle, an egg with a serpent, wings, a lion, and sort of swords in the background. The Chariot. This one reminds me, it's like some spinning ball. We have the 2 Sphinx, but we also have 2 more. We have a bull, and we have a, I'm not sure, I guess a bull's body, but a lion's face. It's kind of hard to tell. The Chariot has 2 wheels. We have the knight with the stars on his armor and a crab on his head. Adjustment or balance. Instead of it being called balance, it's adjustment. And here we have these blues, sort of justice is blind. We have the alpha and the omega depicted, a black and white, one eye's black, one eye's white, the sword hanging down, the balance, the circles. Even the card looks very balanced in itself. The Hermit. This is sort of almost an abstract card. We have Cerberus there. We have the egg with the snake on it. We have these sort of prism lights shining out. We have some sort of thing there. Looks like the sun. He's holding this sort of diamond figure. Sort of swirls of this wheat-looking stuff. But it looks almost like a curled-up fetus, almost, being pulled there. No face, just sort of, but you know this is the Hermit. Fortune, or the Wheel. We have, it's a very dynamic electric card. We have stars, we have lightning, we have swirls. There's the Sphinx with the sword, the baboon creature, sort of the alligator creature pulling into sort of a Greco-Roman Egyptian mythology, sort of here, pulling it in. Here we have Lust, which is one of the cards that sets this deck aside from all the others. Sort of, this would be Strength. So replacing the Strength card with Lust, but giving into it, we sort of have some representation maybe of a peacock. We have snakes. We have these gold colors. We have a multi-headed beast. Again, the Whore of Babylon, the multi-headed beast. Trampled souls around here. The Hangman, again, a sort of an abstract card. We have him, he is nailed, which is, you never see that in a typical Hangman card. Nails in the palms, hands outstretched, nail in the foot. Snake has him pinned up in an ankh. Snake is coiled up down below. We have sort of those geometric things going on. The face and the body itself is very geometrical, almost abstract. One of my favorite cards, this one's Death. Death has this sort of dynamic, sort of almost like he's playing this huge stringed instrument, swirling, cutting down things. We have souls here being sort of guided up. We have a bird up here, snake, fish, scorpion, and Death is black, and the bones are black. You know, the bones are bent and twisted and dynamic, and this headdress here. Sort of a very scary card. We have this huge sickle, this scythe here, cutting through, like almost cutting down souls. Here we have Art, which would be Temperance. We have like most Temperance, we have the two pouring out the cups. Here we have a white lion. We have some sort of vulture, maybe a phoenix bird with this dynamic fire. Sort of an alchemical card with the fire, the lightning bolts going there. We have some words here. Vista intero oro levei rectif camdo, you know, occultum, something in Latin. Crescent moon headdress. If you look on there, one is bleeding, one is spitting up in the cauldron. The Devil, and this is I think this is a really interesting card because we have here, it looks like a cell dividing and chromosomes here. I don't know if that's intentional, but that's what it looks like to me. We have an Egyptian, the sun, depicted there. We have Three-eyed goat, not so much Bahamut, but a three-eyed goat. People being twisted and tortured. The back looks like ink dropped in water with these twisted horns. It looks like grapes or some sort of gelatinous mass on the head. There's the staff there. The Tower is one of the most abstract cards, I think, of the deck. I mean, it looks like it was... the artist is completely different. Here we have a twisted building, weird geometry. We have people falling out. Here we have, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 people falling instead of the normal 2. An eye, maybe the all-seeing eye, projecting down. The beast with teeth and fire. Snake, a bird. The front door of the castle or the tower is open with stairs going down. The star, sort of a science fiction-y looking card. A planet with swirls. We have, looks like this could almost be you know, some icy world. We have these crystalline flowers here, crystals there. Here we have 2 cups being poured out. We have this swirl, sort of a fairy star there. A very feminine card. The moon. Here we see Anubis, or there. We see a scarab, sort of an elongated scarab at the bottom. The moon, we have the little drops. And then we have sort of this wavy, almost looks like it's some readout of something that's happening. 2 towers, or the 2 pillars. This one's holding, looks like they're both holding a female symbol, not an ankh. 2 dogs. The sun, surrounded by all the signs of the zodiac. We have Capricorn at the top, and then it goes around. We have 2 butterfly-winged like cherubs dancing around the sun, sort of a mountain. The Aeon. Here we have in the back, we have Osiris, and we have this childlike figure with a headdress. We have the goddess of the sky, the Egyptian goddess of the sky, overstretching, I forget her name. We have sort of fetuses there at the bottom. We have wings, the sun, the universe. Here we sort of see these masks again, and we see person wrestling with the snake, the eye beaming down, this sort of gradient geometry look to the card. It's an interesting card. Not as it's very dynamic, but not as, I don't find this as interesting as the other cards are.